Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar where we're going to go through the brand new update for 2020 November. Been hard at work at this one for a couple of months and can't wait to show you. Not only have we knocked out some of the biggest feature requests that we've had over the past year, we've also solved all kinds of little requests, over 80 of them, in fact. So won't go through every one. But we'll try to get you out of here in reasonable time on the webinar, but we'll take you through the highlights. We'll definitely go through all the big things. And then at the end, we'll save some time for Q&A and then let you get back to work. So without further ado, let's dive right in. We're gonna start, we'll start small and then we'll get big in a hurry. So the first feature that we added is one that's been asked for a while, and it's printing your budgets to a PDF. Pretty simple feature. But it allows you to now go into your budget, as long as it's not an express budget. Express budget doesn't really have much to print, but for any detailed budget, the ones you're going to want to print, you're now able to download that to a PDF format and print that out. Why might you want to do that? Obviously for planning, but if you're going to talk to your accountant about your plans for next year, if you're going to take it to your bank when you're talking about financing, your equipment manufacturers or vendors, again for financing, all good reasons why you might want to print out the budget. For those of you who have never sat with their bank with a budget before, highly recommend it, especially for those companies that are growing and looking probably for more capital or more an increase to say line of credits or stuff like that. I remember back in the day at TBG when we had the company and it was growing quickly, and our biggest problem at that point in time was available capital and money to feed that growth, and was blown away at the first meeting we ever had with our bank as we looked to increase it. We switched banks, got a new bank, sat with them and went through the budget, and it just felt like we controlled the entire conversation. They literally sat back and listened and watched us work through our plan, and you could see the respect. They had good questions. And all in all, it worked out great for the line of credit. The point is, I don't think banks, financial institutions, that kind of thing are used to having a contractor have a really good plan for the future. And not only that, have a system behind them that's going to help them implement that plan. So it was obviously part of our meeting as well to show how our pricing would make this happen. Long story short, happy ending with the bank. Highly recommend it as we go into next year, especially for those who are growing. All right, moving on. Probably the biggest feature and probably the one people have been asking for the most. It's e-proposals. And what do we mean by e-proposals? Well, we not only mean it's a lot simpler to send a proposal for an email now, you can do it in one step, but it's got all kinds of other benefits too. So let's take you through some of those. So the first step now is when you have an estimate on the print report screen, you're going to have a new button. It's going to be called Publish or Email Proposal. That button, what it's going to do is do two things. One, it's going to send that proposal directly to the customer via email. The customer that is going to get the email is the one that you've specified as the contact for this estimate. So they'll get an email and that'll say, hey, there's a proposal here waiting for you. It'll have your company name, your company logo on it. You can customize some of the footers in the portal settings. And then on top of that, it will have an attachment, which is the PDF, so they can read the proposal. It'll also have a link or an invite to the portal. And I'll talk about that more in a second, why that's important. But you'll get both. So for your customers who have no interest in using the portal, they'll now just be able to simply reply and say, hey, got your proposal. Thank you very much. We'll accept. For those that are going to use the portal, and here's why this comes handy, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can do. This is what the email looks like that the customer will get. It'll come from your company. It'll have your logo on it, your formatting as per your portal settings. You can also set a reply to address. So the reply to address is going to default to whoever sent the estimate, but if the customer does hit reply to this, they will be able to reply directly to the salesperson or whoever emailed the proposal. You'll also get now a live portal view of your estimate. And what that view is going to help you do is manage that proposal as it works through. So the current process for a lot of contractors now is we email a proposal, and then over email, over phone, over face-to-face conversation, over Excel files that get shared, all kinds of information, maybe changes, maybe requests get bounced around about that proposal, sometimes lost, sometimes it's a disappointing experience for the customer. At best, it's a time-consuming process to make sure you've got it all together in one place so that when you present your final, everything's there. If you are using the portal, you're going to find this process gets a lot easier. When you upload a proposal now, it will show up in the portal for your customer. And then in that portal, you can do all kinds of neat stuff like upload files. So now if you want to attach to your proposal photos, designs, material lists, plant care packages, anything you want that's a file, you can attach that to the proposal as well as the proposal so the client can review those as well. If you change versions, like make an update, you can do the same thing. You can attach an old one and a new one, or a version 1, a version 2, and a version 3 of the estimate. So the client has 3 they can review and look through to see the changes. You can also add comments. So on the right-hand side of that little screenshot, you can see there's a little comment box. Yourself or your salesperson and the customer can go back and forth with comments. Highly useful because now all the comments are in one place. I don't have to look at my email, remember a phone call. My customer can add comments at any time of day and night that they're looking at it, and then we'll reply through there. So we can communicate back and forth like that. There's also a history tracking, and history tracking will keep track of the status changes, like, okay, it's waiting approval, it's been approved, or the client has requested changes, so that we both ourselves and the customers, have a clear vision of where this proposal's at. A client can click a request changes button, and in that case, your salesperson will get an immediate notification of either a comment left or the changes requested so that we can get right on top of that quickly. Finally, once everything's locked and sealed, the customer can digitally sign that proposal right in the portal. And that will also show up on your view of the estimate so that you can see the date, who signed it, and their signature. Your estimate statuses will also auto update if the customer approves or rejects your estimate. You can find those auto update status changes now in your estimate settings. So a new section of the estimate settings, you can go in and say when a customer approves or rejects a estimate, automatically change my estimate status to X, whatever your statuses are. Lots of new stuff there. Certainly makes it highly more effective to communicate and close, hopefully, proposals. That's the whole point of this. We want to make it easier to manage the information, to manage the back and forth with the customer, to keep it all in one place. For smaller companies, just makes it easier to take it all out of your head. For larger companies where you may have multiple people involved in communicating with the customer, now you and the customer all have it in one spot, so it's easily transparent. We've also built some more things into e-proposals that'll help you manage them better. Another big feature is to send a bunch of proposals in emails at once. You know, currently, especially for maintenance companies that do lots of proposals, when you're sending your proposals out, it's one at a time. Now you can go to the Service Estimates menu, tap the Update Estimates menu or button, select as many estimates as you want, and at the bottom there, you'll see an option that says Send Proposals. So now what you can do is email out 50 proposals or more all at once just by going to the standard estimate screen. So get all your estimates up and ready to go, tap, 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 send them out. Whoever the contact is on that estimate is going to get an email saying, hey, this landscape company has made an estimate for you and it's waiting for your review and approval, which again, they'll be able to do in the email or even better in the portal. There's also a complete history tracking in the portal under the new proposal screen. So when you see the word proposals now, it's a little different than an estimate. An estimate's your estimate. A proposal is sort of that final version, that final PDF of the estimate that's awaiting the approval. So you can keep track of all your proposals now on a new screen under the estimate menu called Proposal. There you can filter by date range, you can filter by customer name. Here you can see I've got a drop down showing all statuses. So I can very quickly look and say, which one of my proposals are still awaiting approval? What's been approved? What's been rejected? What's now waiting for changes requested? And I can click any one of those to jump right back into the estimate and get to work. I can also send reminders. You'll see a little remind button off to the right, and there's also under the bulk options a remind, where I can take a customer who hasn't maybe responded and send a reminder. So super handy for cleaning up or staying on top of my awaiting approval list. I can also make status updates in bulk. So let's say I just don't hear from a bunch of customers at all. Well, we can go back in here after, select them, and use the bulk options to say these have been rejected or hopefully approved. Next up, we've expanded the portal even further. Our customers have been asking us for ways that their customers can submit requests via the portal. And again, really important. Why? Well, it makes communication easier, but there's a bigger and better reason for that. Enhancements, upsells, and extra work are profitable. In fact, some of the most highly profitable stuff we can do in especially maintenance. But it also makes our customer experience better. We want to engage our customers in their outdoors, get them having a passion for it, and getting obviously them to improve it. So this makes it a little easier for your customers to do that. They can go outside, they can snap a picture, and then right on the portal, they can submit a request. When they submit a request, it'll come with a request name. They can choose a job site for those customers that have multiple job sites. They can mark it as urgent. They can fill out some details. And like we said, they can upload photos if they want to do that as well. Once they submit that request, the person assigned to that contact will get an instant email notification saying a customer's left a request. You'll also see those requests in your to-dos, in a new to-dos dashboard screen on your home screen, and in the list of all to-dos that you can see under your CRM. So they'll appear in 3 places: in the CRM contact itself, the master list of to-dos, and on your home screen, and plus your email. From there, you can deal with requests similar to the way we dealt with proposals. So I can add comments where I can add other questions. I can assign that request to somebody else in the company. I can set a due date. I can upload pictures back to my customer. The end result obviously being that we get a request from the customer, we deal with it, we mark it as resolved. Customer sees that in the portal along with all the comments, questions, or stuff they ask. So especially for those of you going into snow, it's a brand new way to deal with your snow contracts as well. Customers can now, at 7 in the morning, when maybe it's hard to answer the phone or you're not available or you're sleeping, customers can take pictures of maybe work that they didn't agree with or work they had questions about and add those to their portal. When it's convenient for you, you'll get the email, you can deal with it, you can answer it, you can send somebody back out to fix it, whatever the case is. And when it's resolved, mark it as complete. And then in that portal, the customer, again, has that transparent view of, I had a problem, they answered me quickly, it got fixed, I'm good to go, without a whole lot of back and forth and looking through emails and or looking through phone call records. I'll show you the dashboards here in a second. But first, I want to talk about a few more ease of use features for the portal. One other thing that customers had a question about or a request for was just to make it easier to get their customers on the portal. In the past, we were updating customers one at a time with invites, and we've made that a lot simpler going forward. Number one, when you send a proposal or an invoice now to a customer, you don't have to actually invite them or set them up on the portal first. It's automatic. What'll happen is your stuff will automatically go to the portal. Now, your customer may or may not set itself up or have been set up to date, but that's okay. In the email now, there's going to be a link. It'll look and detect when you send an email to a customer, has this customer registered for the portal yet? If not, it'll include an invitation link to register them. If they have registered, it'll just include a link to log in so that they can see it. But again, everything that we're sending or talking about there is also going to come as a PDF. So if you are sending an estimate or an invoice and they still don't want to use the portal, that's fine. There's a PDF in there that they can use. It's just the portal's easier because when they do approve or digitally sign or ask comments, all that stuff is consolidated. So it certainly makes it easier for you and the customer to keep track of where everything's at. But built-in invitations are the first thing so that you don't have to send out invites to customers one at a time to join the portal. You can just start sending estimates. The invitations will take care of themselves. Or you might want to announce the portal and send out a mass invite. That's okay too. You can go to the contact screen now in the CRM, hit select all with the check boxes or select whoever you want. And then there's a new button that says invite to portal. And what that'll do is send out a mass invitation to everybody you've selected. Now pay careful attention to your portal settings before you do this, because those are the default permissions. They're going to get applied to all the customers that you invite. So make sure you're showing your customers what you want them to see and not too much or not too little before you send out the invites. Obviously, you can change the permissions later, but it's certainly easier to get this right up front. There's also more portal activity you'll see on the new CRM portal activity menu, we've expanded that a lot further to show all kinds of notification types. Previously, this just showed the results of invoices getting paid, payments received. Now we've added a whole bunch of new things that you can keep track of. Credit card payments, debit payments, proposals that have been published, proposals that have been accepted, rejected, proposal request changes, proposals deleted so that you can keep an eye on your salespeople and make sure they're doing things on the up and up as well. It'll also track what customers have left comments, who's been sent invitations, who's accepted the invitations, who's been sent invoices. All these things you can filter in the portal activity. It's like a giant log of what your customers are doing so that, again, you can stay on top of them. We also got asked for a lot of auto charging. So can I just auto charge my customers, especially those who are on maintenance fixed contracts? And yes, you can. Your customers do have to opt into that when they put in their credit card. They say, yeah, go ahead and auto charge me up to a limit of X. And now you'll be able to see which customers have asked or granted you that permission and what their limit is. It's in the CRM screen under the portal setup. You'll see now a new flag beside each user who's turned on auto charging and what the max limit is if they have. Another request we got for the customer portals just to make it easier for your customers to log in. Apparently some of them had some problems remembering their username. No problem. We now have a forgot password username on that. It always had the forgot password. We've just added username on top of that. So if your customer forgets everything about the portal, including their username and password, it's easy to get it back. They just need to enter their email address that you registered them with. All right, next up, I said I'd come back to more dashboards. Those of you who logged in this morning will have seen the dashboard change a little bit. What you see on the top left now is called customer requests. Customer requests that come in from the portal instantly now land on your dashboard. The reason for that obviously is we want to get right on top of that work. It's probably, well, it's either a complaint that we want to take care of to keep a customer happy, or it's a request for enhancement and we want to take care of that to generate more revenue and profit. So the customer requests tab now, or pane on the home screen, is going to give you a view of requests as they come in. And you can click any one of those to dive right in if you want to edit it from there. All you have to do is tap the request that you see right there in the tile, and you'll jump right into the CRM screen where you can continue to work with it. We've also added all kinds of estimate dashboard improvements. And the idea here is to help you focus your attention on the estimates that are going to drive the best results for your company. Not everybody, and it changed from region to region, but certainly a lot of you told us this year, I'm busier than ever. If I had more people, I could get a whole lot more work done, or I could make a lot more profit, or I could have blown my sales goals out of the water. A lot of you were really busy this year, and hopefully that continues into next year. But when you're really busy, and when you're experiencing, or if you're experiencing a shortage of labor, it's never been more important than to focus your attention on the jobs that are going to drive you the best results. When you're scrambling to get work all the time, it's easy to just take whatever comes in and say yes to as much as you can. When you've got more work than you can handle coming in, it's imperative that we really identify the work that we're going to make the most money on and say yes to that, and say no to maybe the work that isn't. So we built some dashboards to help you do that. On your estimate dashboard screen, you're going to see two new tabs now. There's a profit report and a labor report. These will show you your top 10 estimates, although there's paging buttons, so you can go next and see 10 to 11 and 11 to 20 and 20 to 30. You can keep going through that. But it's going to allow you to identify your best opportunities by most net profit, most revenue, most revenue per hour, which is also really important. That probably might be your biggest bang for your buck when it comes to a labor supply shortage, and your most throughput. We can also flip to the labor report section and see jobs with the most hours and the least hours. We've also added a brand new section called Industry Standards to our production rates and work area templates section. And what does this mean? Well, templates are a super handy way of estimating faster, and production rates are really handy for knowing how long certain tasks take, especially if you're not an expert in that task, or you are an expert and you just never had the time to set it up. What we've done is we've added a new library of industry standard rates to both production rates and the work area template section. So you can still create those from scratch, just like you've always done, but you're going to see a new button on those screens that says Add from Industry Standards. When you do that, it's going to load up a bunch of pre-populated templates that we're building and will continue to build over the next couple of months here at LMN. This will allow you to very easily grow your template library to do all kinds of tasks. And whether you're an expert at those tasks or not, these templates will help you estimate faster and more accurately. We're going to include the labor, the equipment, and the materials required to get that work done, or in the case of production rates, the industry standard times to get those tasks done. If you get into using it, you're going to find it gets smarter the more you use it. For instance, when you bring in, say, a driveway template, you may have something called a hardscape crew, and our driveway template has something called a installation crew, and your equipment is different. No problem. There's a replace button, see that you can replace our items with your crews and your equipment. What LMN will do is when it imports that template, it'll replace our stuff with your stuff so that you're building off your own costs and prices. And next time you import one of our templates that uses the same crew, it will remember that you like to substitute our crew with your crew, and it'll automatically do that for you for future imports. So the more you use this, the smarter it gets. And it should help you build your templates library a lot quicker, especially for those of you who are newer to LMN and maybe haven't had a lot of time to jump into this section. There'll be all kinds of good stuff here for you to start building off of. Next up, we also made it easier for you to do mass updates to your pricing. Material categories have been around for our material catalog for a long time. You can assign your materials to categories. And in the last update, we created these new defaults for categories, like a default shipping factor, warranty factor, and a default profit margin for pricing. Well, now we've made it way easier to update your pricing year to year. Let's say this year I was making 25% on my irrigation parts, and I'm really busy. So next year, I want to up my profit to 30% on my irrigation parts. Now this couldn't be easier. All you need to do is go to your irrigation category, up your profit margin, and then use one of those options you see in my screenshot there. You got the option to update nothing, or you have the option to update materials that are only assigned to the category, so things that are only in irrigation, or update any materials that belong to irrigation, because some of your materials could belong in multiple categories. When you hit OK, it'll automatically override the shipping factor, warranty factor, purchasing tax, and profit margin or pricing vehicle for all that stuff all at once. So it makes updating your estimating catalog year to year way faster, or to be honest, at any time. We've also implemented what's called, here it says SSO for Academy. SSO stands for single sign-on. And quite simply, what this does is makes it easier for you to get logged into Academy. So on your LMN menu at the bottom left, you've always had an LMN Academy button. And when you click that, you can log in with your Academy username and password. Now you don't need to remember another username and password. You can simply click that button. There'll be a button at the bottom that says sign up or register with LMN, sign in with LMN. You can click that and you'll instantly be taken to the LMN sign-in screen where you can sign in and get in. Or if you're already signed in, you'll just get dumped right into the Academy, no login required. Here's another field people have been asking for a while. It's another big one, and it allows you to update your LMN time jobs in record time. So what we were hearing from users are, I like to just copy my jobs and renew them for next year, and I don't necessarily build estimates again. And if you're doing that, it made it a little hard to change your pricing or make mass changes to jobs like adding tasks or adding different services or hiding tasks or hiding services. Well, now you can do all that in bulk using our new Update Jobs menu. So in LMN Time, you're going to see a new option under the Jobs menu called Update Jobs. What that'll allow you to do is one of a couple things. So start by picking an action. So if you look at my screenshot there, and it may be small for some of you, but you'll see the first drop down on the top is an action. And it'll allow you to either add, edit, or delete something. And that something is in your next drop down. You can add, edit, or delete tasks, services, rates, or materials to a whole bunch of selected jobs. That's where we're going here. If you want to add a new task or add a new service to 25 jobs all at once, this is going to allow you to do that. So then you'll pick your service or your task or your material, whatever it is you're adding, and then the job group that you want to add it to. Then very simply, you just select the jobs you want to add, You can set up your pricing right here. You can make changes if these things already exist. So for instance, if you have a service and you just want to up the price this year by 2%, you can come in here, pick that service, select all the jobs, and there'll be a button that says use calculators. You can hit that and say up my price by 2%, and it'll do that for all your jobs in seconds. Previously, you'd have to go to all your jobs, go to that service, calculate your 2% increase, and type it in. So this could save you hours when you're going through making fixes to jobs that weren't either set up correctly in the first place, or ones that you're renewing year over year and you want to add stuff to. Also can make it way faster to hide tasks that are, once you're done the spring and you're done all your spring cleanups, you don't want to show spring cleanups to your field crews anymore. Just simplifies clock-ins for them. So great, you can come in here, pick your spring cleanup task, say hide from timesheets, and then it won't show up anymore. All your information will still be there, all your history, but for crews clocking in the field, it's one less thing for them to look at or accidentally clock into. For those of you that are getting started with LMN, this makes it way faster to get started. You can simply import your customers from your CRM as jobs. So it makes it really easy if you've got QuickBooks. You can go QuickBooks to CRM import, and then CRM into LMN time import, and then you just add your tasks and prices, etc., to your jobs here. You can be up and running in record time. Next up's another big one. People have been asking, I want my customers to pay, but they don't necessarily want to use the portal. They just want to pay from an email. Well, now that's no problem either. We can now, when we send an invoice, your invoices will now have both options available to your customer. So like usual, it'll have your logo, it'll have a little hello, and it'll have an invoice number. What your customers can then do is either click a button to pay for the invoice right then and there, or they can click a button to register or log into the portal, depending if they already have, and do it from there. Either way, all that information is going to be stored in the portal. So it will be available whenever your customers decide to get around to it. But certainly for customers that don't want another thing to log into, it makes it easy. They can just hit the link that says pay this invoice. They can type in their credit card. Again, that's all securely gone through our credit card processing company. Hit pay, and the invoice will be paid. You'll have a record of it. If 6 months down the road, the customer does decide, hey, this portal sounds interesting, let me have a look, all their history will be there ready to go. So it's doing both, whether they use the portal or not. But it certainly makes it easier for those customers who don't want to log into anything to pay an invoice. That's what the invoice will look like. It'll have payment information, any of the line items you've added. If they have made previous payments, they'll be able to see that. So they'll get to see all the details of it there. They can download it as a PDF. But the most important part, obviously, is there's a pay now button that they can click, enter their credit card, and away they go. Another new feature that we've added for this build is the ability to track actual equipment in timesheets. So some of the requests we've been hearing about, I want to track asset usage or equipment usage on jobs. And you've always been able to leave timesheet notes, so you can have your crews enter what equipment they've taken. But now we've made it a little better. In the timesheet settings, you'll now have a new thing called timesheet equipment. And in there, you can put a list of all your unit numbers. So truck 25, skid steer 32, however you identify your equipment. When crews are using the timesheets, if you turn on equipment notes, i.e. you want them to track equipment, then what they'll be able to do now is as they start typing in the equipment notes, it will autofill for them, or at least pre-populate for them, options of equipment that start with whatever they're typing. So as they type in TRK or truck or however you've identified your stuff, it'll start type ahead, showing them all the options that have that equipment sort of name. Your crews can pick that, then hit a plus button, and that'll sort of save that piece of equipment attached to the timesheet. And then there'll be a report that'll show you what equipment was used on what jobs for how long, so that you can go back and review asset utilization. Another thing we've been asked for is the reply to on portal emails. So up to date, the portal emails previously to this update were no reply at golmn.com. So the customer got a notification, but if they hit reply, it went nowhere. Now you're able to specify a reply to email with everything that comes out of LMN to the customer. So whether it's uploading a proposal, whether it's uploading an invoice or any other notification like that, an invoice reminder, a proposal reminder, they'll all come with a reply to email. In that reply to email, it will default to the user that's doing its email. So if I'm doing this, it's going to default to my email as the reply to. For stuff like invoices, you might not want it to come to your email. You might want it to go to accounting@golmn.com or whatever. So you can change your reply to email to anywhere you want it to go. And when you hit publish, the customer is going to get the email notification, and then they can reply to that email, and it will go wherever it is that you've directed that reply to go to. So certainly makes that a lot handier. The other thing we've added to the email notifications is your company name in the subject line. It makes it a little easier for your customers to identify when they get the email who's sending it to them, and obviously recognizing your customer name. Those are our biggest features for this release. I wanted to take a minute to thank everybody that submitted suggestions. I'm going to get to questions in one sec, but before I did that, I did want to take a minute to thank everybody for their continuous flow of suggestions to help make LMN more useful to you. That's quite simply our goal. It sounds a little cliche, but it's absolutely 100% true. We only exist to make your life easier, and we'll only be a better software company if we make your life easier. So for those of you that have submitted suggestions about everything we build, we greatly, greatly value it. And on top of what I just showed you today, we also wanted to explain there's about 70 other updates built into this, the smaller suggestions. So what you see here by no means is a comprehensive list, but we've built over 70, actually I believe it finished at over 80 suggestions in this release, as well as what you've seen here today. So just a big thank you for everyone who's had suggestions, and for those of you that are going to get into this new stuff, keep those suggestions coming. It's what drives us here at the development department. For those of you who want to read more about the complete list of features available in this list, you can go to golmn.com/20-11-product-release, and it'll be there. It's right there on our homepage. If you go to the homepage, right in the main picture of your homepage at golmn.com, there's a button where you can view the release notes. So go in, have a look at the new features. There's more that I talked about here. Lots of time-saving stuff you'll probably wish you saw earlier once you see it. So I encourage you to go out and have a good read of that. You'll save yourself hours. The 20 minutes it takes you to read it, it's going to save you all kinds of time down the road. What I'd like to do now, though, is open the floor for some questions. I know we've had some questions coming in as we've done this. So Lisa, if you're with me, you can fire away.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. We do have a few questions here. I'll start off with the first one here. It says, can my staff edit or delete comments on proposals and requests?
Good question. That was something actually we thought about and talked about for a while here. On one hand, you want to allow somebody to correct a mistake, or a typo or something like that. On the other hand, if a customer's made a request and I dropped the ball on it and I never did it, as an owner, I may not want the salesperson or account manager to have the ability to accidentally delete that record. So comments themselves are editable for 60 minutes. So when you leave a comment, this actually works for both customer and contractor, because we do want to have this like transparent sort of documented record. So what happens is the comment is editable for 60 minutes. Once 60 minutes has passed, the comment is not editable. So, I mean, you can still change stuff. You just would have to add a new comment, and you'd have to say something like, hey, scratch that thing earlier. I made a mistake. This is what I mean, and have it changed. But now there's a record of it. But especially when you get into dealing with proposals, change requests, these things are really important to the final approval of a proposal. So we didn't want to just leave it wide open for somebody to delete anything. So it's a great question, and the answer is both. You can delete comments or requests, or you can edit comments or requests, but only for a short time. After that, it becomes locked down.
Okay, perfect. There's another question here. This customer is new to the customer portal. Are their clients able to access the portal on their phone, or do they have to download an app as well?
Yeah, another good question. So downloading an app is kind of painful for the customer, and it's hard to convince all your customers to download an app. I don't know. I'm not sure I want an app for my furnace guy on my phone or any other tradesperson. It's just app overload. So the short answer is no to the app, but yes, totally to the phone. The customer portal is optimized completely to work on mobile. So it'll kind of look and feel like an app, even though it's a website. So when they click a link in the email, if they do it from their phone, it'll be automatically directed to their browser where they can log in. And then the entire portal experience has been optimized to work well on a mobile. So yeah, absolutely, they'll be able to access their portal on the phone.
Awesome. We have another question here from Michael. Will the training videos on LMN Academy be updated with these new features?
Yes, and I believe they all are already. So I believe we're 100% complete on that. All the videos now on the Academy are up there. So if you want to dive in and watch about, like we said, emailing proposals, emailing invoices, invoice reminders, all that kind of stuff, yes, those are now live in the Academy. So you can get there for more help for sure.
Awesome. A couple more questions here. Will I get an email notification when a customer approves a quote or asks a question?
Yes, if you're the salesperson of that estimate. So yes, 100% someone's going to get an email. Who gets the email is determined by the salesperson field on an estimate. So when you create an estimate, your user is automatically assigned to that salesperson field. It may stay that way, it may not. You may change that, but whoever the salesperson is on that estimate will absolutely get an email notification when there's any sort of significant change to the quote. So asks a question, approves a quote, rejects a quote, requests changes to a quote, all those things will trigger an instant email. As well as the documented history in the proposal. They'll see it there as well.
Great. There's a question here for invoicing and billing. Can you get a client, or sorry, can you send a client notifications to remind them to pay their bill?
Yeah, that's another new feature. Didn't make the top 10 list of my big PowerPoint features, but yes, that is a new feature now. So you'll be able to select invoices from your invoice list. The invoice list now shows the invoice amount and the balance. So you can sort by balance to see the outstanding ones. And then, yeah, you can just click a whole bunch of them, or you can do it one at a time too, but you can click a whole bunch of them, and then you can use the update button to send reminders. And what that'll do is just send a reminder invoice with reminder text. It won't say, hey, it won't look like a new one. It'll say, hey, just a friendly reminder that this invoice is still outstanding. Click here to pay, or click here to jump on the portal with a PDF copy of that invoice again.
Awesome. There's a question here from John. Where can I get the report on equipment usage on timesheets?
That would be if you go to LMN Time, click the reports, then go to the jobs report. And you're pushing me a little bit here, but it's number 15, I believe. Regardless of what number it is, it's the last report in the jobs report. And I'm 90% sure it's number 15. You'll see it's called timesheet equipment.
Perfect. And the last question we have here, Mike, is do I have to invite a new customer to use the portal before I can send them an estimate?
Yeah, good question. Tried to cover that earlier, and I'll definitely want to reinforce, no, you don't have to invite them to use the portal before you can send them an estimate. When you send them an estimate, it will automatically detect whether you've invited them or not. If you haven't, it'll include an invitation in that estimate email. So it'll include a link where they can log into the portal to, communicate and approve, et cetera, that estimate. If they already have the portal, it'll change the text to that email and say, hey, click here to log in and approve and do all that kind of stuff. So the short answer is, no, you don't even have to invite them. It will invite them automatically. And again, I just want to urge that make sure you pay attention to your portal setup screen and have your default permissions all set to the way you want for most customers. Because when it does send that invitation automatically, it's going to set that customer up with your default permissions. So, be conservative, or at least double check those permissions to make sure you're not showing customers a whole bunch of things you don't want to show them. Whatever's in that portal settings there is what will go by default. Now, of course, you can change that at any time for any customer. You can flex those, but when you send out the invitation, it'll default to those setups. So would urge you that before you get in going crazy setting those out, just go to your account menu and go to your portal setup, just double check all those permissions there and make sure they're set up exactly the way you want them.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Mike. That's all the questions for now.
Awesome. Well, I think we can give everybody 15 minutes back in their day. Once again, thank you so much for the suggestions. Thank you so much for spending time with us. As you get using it, please feel free to send us more requests, more suggestions, more helpful hints on how we can improve this. And look forward to hearing from everybody this winter and this coming year. Thanks again.